everybody. My name is Ismael Santiago. My dad's doing it, ambassador, and we're here today to get together and talk about a important topic. Before we get started on what the topic is, I'm gonna let the rest of the dads introduce themselves. Go ahead, guys.
Yo, what's up, everybody? It's Larry, owner of Famous Barbershop, father of two wonderful kids. How you doing?
My name's Junior Bennett, work at Famous Barbershop, got 3 kids and 4 grandkids.
Hi everyone, my name is Thomas Hampton, father of two and realtor.
All right, and just because everyone else said how many kids they had, I'll start with saying I have 6 kids myself and a grandson. But
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, I was busy. Today's topic is going to be a real important topic, guys. We're going to start talking about racism and how we deal with that as fathers and how communicate that stuff with our kids. And unfortunately, one of our very own had an experience with a longtime friend, and I'm going to let him share that experience. But go ahead, Junior. Tell us what happened to you.
All right, so hello, Facebook friends, Instagram, Twitter, whatever else we're going to be on. Um, this happened about a month ago. I'm with my wife. My wife and I like going to, a certain place in Leominster. And, we have a appetizer and a drink, and we go home. And my brother had took me out for my birthday on July 17th. And he had had a problem with one of our longtime friends. I've known this guy for 30 plus years, and my brother have known him 40 plus years. And so when I mean we've done things together with this guy, we've done things together. Excuse me. Long story short, my brother said that he was being racial. The guy he had a problem with that we've known for all this time. Not giving no names. Said he was just racist, like MAGA racist, and saying things like the inner cities are killing our welfare, they're taking advantage of it, things like that. And my brother just cut him off. He's like, no, we don't, all this time. So a couple weeks later, my wife and I were at our place. It's my ties, but we like going there. And there was no one there. My wife and I, she had a couple friends and maybe 2 or 3 other people. And then he comes in and I said, what's going on between you and my brother? He said he called me. Oh, he called me a racist. I said, I don't give a damn what he called you. What happened? Well, I was saying these things, and he virtually now. You gotta understand that my ties is a Asian spot. Very nice people. Very nice place to go to if you want to relax, just have a drink or not a drink, something to eat. Very nice place. This guy happened to open his mouth to say, again, the inner cities is ruining our welfare. They're taking advantage of it. We need to deport all them. He talked with Mexicans, Puerto Ricans, Asians, all them. And he said it right at the bar. And I says, are you kidding me? You were at an Asian spot. You're drinking a drink that came from them. You're eating their food. What is wrong with you? I says, don't Irish people have inner cities in America? Don't German people have inner cities? Polish people, Australian people, all them different nationalities, they have inner cities in America. If you don't believe it or not, that's up to you. And I says, why don't you go after them first? Oh, we don't want them right now. We're going to go after these guys and get them all out. And so right there and then I just got perturbed. Good thing my wife was out. She stepped outside with her friends for a minute, and I said, what if they took your son? What if your son was a different nationality? What if he took your fucking son? He got up, and then I got up with my fist balled up. Balled up, and good thing there was someone in between us. Because I was getting ready to knock this dude smooth out. And he ended up leaving, and he left, the place, and he told my wife. Now you gotta understand. Let me go back. I've known this guy for 30 years. We left the country together. We played golf together. We've done everything, man, possible. And so is my brother. And every time I would see him, He'd come up to me, give me five, and give me a hug. Junior, what's up, my blah 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 blah. Then he'd go to my wife, he'd hug my wife, kiss my wife, flirt with my wife, type, that. And when he came in that time, nothing. He didn't even acknowledge that I was there. And I said, after 30 years, you get an argument with my brother. My brother shade you off, and I see you. I didn't do nothing to you. Zero to you. Just because you got an argument with my brother doesn't mean I'm going to argue with you. Now, if it was something that you said that I don't agree with, that you said to my brother, me about his family or whatever, yeah, we got a problem. But for you not even to come up to me and shake my hand, he actually came in, sat down at the bar. And a year ago, shake my hand, laugh and giggle, blah, blah, blah. Junior, what's up to? Oh, your wife's there. Oh, she's so beautiful, blah, 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 blah. Zero did he do that. And so my whole problem with this race thing, I'm half black, half white. And I clown all the time at the barbershop, and I don't understand how we explain to our kids that this racism is right in front of our face. 30 years. Understandably, I said, what if you guys known one of your friends 30 years? You leave the country together. You do things together. You've been to weddings together. And now, because of our president, I'm calling it, whether you want to see it or not, our president is bringing out that racism across our faces like we don't even read about. You see it in the cops, you see it in friendships, marriage. What do we say to our kids? Hey, racism's it's going to be there. But this guy, and now he wants to run for a third term. Let's forget all that. The racism is crazy.
Junior,
How do I know I've known Larry for goddamn 25, he was 15, now he's 40, 27 fucking years.
so
Me
have
and
you and
him.
this other gentleman even have you guys spoken since that night at all, or that's it? It's
Now
ship is
now
gone.
I called him afterward, right after that. Larry, you piece of and I was mad. I said, you piece of I said, I'll see you right now. Then he says, I'm going to your house. Now, my 21-year-old daughter was home, but I don't give a damn if she was 50 years old. You coming to my house with my kids here? See, that's where I got to cut it. So I rushed home. Where you at? Where you up? I'm here. So I know he was only messing around, but nah, it's on site. When I don't want to say it, but you want to say you're showing up to my house. When I see you, it's going to be on site. There's going to be no words. You said your words. I asked you what was happening, and you forgave. You forbade everything about that. And just because of the color of my skin, and now this dude is saying wear red hats. Not only Nelson, excuse me, 40 plus years help you build your house, cabinets in your house, helped you out, thick and thin, right in front of our faces, my brother, and we can't even see it. So if we can't see it, what do we say to our kids?
Larry, Thomas, anything you guys want to add into this? It sounds like a pretty serious situation that happened to Junior, and I'm
Go
just
ahead,
glad.
Larry.
Junior, I'm just glad you didn't deal with it in a way that may have got you locked up or anything. But go ahead, Larry,
I
take it
was
away.
going to. I was about to. I was about to. I got up and balled my fist up, and a good thing there was someone in between us.
I mean,
Good thing.
I think that even though you've known the man for 30 years, that's how obviously he's always felt. You know what I mean? Um, with or without our president. It's just, you might be right. Maybe people are, I say, misinformed. You know what I mean? For lack of better term. I say people are misinformed and they take that misinformation and use it as an opening to show they racism or prejudice or whatever it is that they may have. Um, but you're only going to see it from people who always felt like that. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? I'm not going to wake up tomorrow
absolutely.
and all of a sudden now I hate this group of people or that group of people, you know what I mean, for no reason, you know? Um, I think for uh, I think for us ethnic people, we have to still kind of like I just let my kids know, you know, when they are teaching Black history and they're teaching about slavery, because that's all they teach when they teach Black history is slavery.
Hmm.
I just let my kids know that that's still around in the world. All these movies that we have that showcase all of that stuff, like that's still there's still people today that think like that. You know what I mean? Um,
Yeah, unfortunately.
how to deal with it? I'm gonna be honest. I don't even think I ever gave a solution to how to deal with it because you don't know. You can have a plan, but then what? Do you have a second plan? Do you have a third plan? You know what I mean? Um, damn. I just think it's unfortunate. You know, it's unfortunate, but at the same time, what
Yeah.
can you do? That's how he feels. You know what I mean?
Thomas, anything you want to add?
You're muted, June.
Um, yeah, to Junior's question about, how we, approach to the kids. I can only speak from experience. Uh, Noah is Puerto Rican, black, white. Um, and what I have done, I can, like I said, speaking from experience, what I have been able to do with Noah the past 3 years, ever since he's been able to start reading, is just educating him on Black history. He's read books about Harriet Tubman, Martin Luther King, the Civil Rights Movement, different things like that. So when it comes time to have a conversation about, incidents, incidents like Junior's experience or, what he could experience out there, if it's racially, at least he has some context and understanding of it. So the foundation of how I'm going about it is just educating them on what the civil rights movement was and how how all that worked and how there was people trying to put down other people and slave trade and all that stuff. That way we have a foundation of understanding where it comes from and then going from there on how he can go about it nowadays. If Noah ran into a racial experience, hopefully he never has to experience that. But if he does in his in his future, um, like the other day, I was just speaking to him in the car. Like, he's going into middle school now, so a lot of the social world becomes more important to kids during that time. And I let him know. I said, look, uh, there are going to be people who talk down to you, say bad things about you, try to make fun of you, try to bully you. But what's really important is to understand that a lot of times when people are projecting negative things onto you, it's a reflection how they feel about themselves. So I'm also using, starting that conversation. That way he understands that if someone does try to call him a racial slur or put him down or try to make him feel bad, not only does he have understanding of where the foundation of where that comes from, but he also has solutions on, that self-awareness of, hey, this person's calling me a bad word or they're treating me this way. Uh, you know, I know this is just a reflection of how they might feel about themselves, you know. And again, sounds way easier said than done. But I'm only doing what been able to learn and implement myself, just based on my personal growth. So that's just a little bit about my experience, how I'm going about it when it comes to our kids.
I had mentioned something to Larry. Larry's got a very good friend that is Caucasian, and I had asked him the same thing. I said, "What if that friend you've known for 30 plus years did it to you? What would you do?" And I'm like, I was stuck in between turning the other cheek or raising my fist. And I chose to raise my fist, and it wasn't because I wanted to fight. Everyone knows me, man. I don't want. I talk a good game, but I can back my shit up. So let's get that out. Um, I didn't want to fight, especially someone 30 years. I didn't want to fight, but there's only very few choices you have in a situation like that. You can't go to a man like that or woman and say what you want to say if their mind is already set. Um, and I can't. I it still bothers me. It happened probably over a month ago. It bothers me. It bothers me that not only do us of color, minority, have to watch our backs no matter where we go as it is. Every time I go into Dunkin' Donuts or a store, I look at the cameras. You know what I mean? I really do. I go to Walmart, I look at someone that's fucking behind me, which I never ever did before. Ever. I never looked around to say, hey, is that a male, female? Is he racist? Is she not racist? This one, that? Never. Never had to do it. And I do it constantly now. Whether I'm in Market Basket, Dunkin' Donuts, famous barber shop, I got to know who's around me. And I never, ever had to do that. Never, ever had to do that growing up. And now at 54 years old, I have to do it now. It's crazy, and it means a lot to me for you guys' feedback because I was destroyed, man. I was like, yo, right in front of my face, like I was wearing clothes every day, and I didn't know what color I had on. So good a friend he was. You know what I mean? And whether or not he was like that for the past 30 years, he's almost 60 now, I think. But the way that we're going around in our current affairs and our politics, government, presidency, whatever now, it's getting worse. There's motherfuckers downtown Leominster protesting. About what? I don't know. And they're protesting for the wrong reasons. You're trying to get all minorities and blacks and whatever to protest. Get some protesters that are white so they know that we're together. And I just don't understand. I will. I don't understand it. I really, it boggles my mind. And Larry will tell you because almost every day at the shop, I tell the story, and I'm like, "Yo, hold up, wait a minute, hold on." And so when we talk to our kids that are going through elementary, kindergarten, elementary school, you play Pop Wanawit or AYF. They're 12, 13 years old. The girls cheerleading together, and they say it to our kids. And
Hmm.
we tell our kids to back up. And yes, absolutely. But then what do we honestly say? Honestly, instead of fighting or disagreeing, what do we say to our kids for someone that's their best friend or friends for so many years and now nothing?
So
It's a tough
Junior, if
one.
People
I
change. The world
um
changes.
yeah, so if I may cut in, so Junior, so the fact that you've known this guy for 30 plus years, I'm not even surprised at the betrayal because I've known people for 30 plus years and have faced betrayal with them before, and it was like and it was an ugly situation and everything. And I'm not here to share that story right now, but I'm not surprised that someone even beyond the 30 years of you knowing them did something that you would never expect of them because I've faced a situation. Um, that I would have rather it been a racial situation. And then on top of racial situations, I have two actual, um, that really come to my mind. I remember being in the mall one time when I was, I don't know, maybe 15 years old. I'm talking about the Searstown Mall. At least that's what it was called back then. I didn't know what the mall at Whitney Field was for a little while. It took me some time to figure that out because that was always the Searstown Mall. But uh, but I was in there with one of my bros, and we're sitting down at a bench, and then some older, like, and I mean, oh, I'm like probably 15, 16, we hopped on the bus to get to the mall, and some older, white man comes sits next to us, and he just looks at us because we're cracking jokes, we're having a good time or whatever. We're not being disrespectful or loud. We're cracking jokes and having a good time amongst ourselves. And then he just looks over at us, sits at the bench that we were sitting at, and he just looks at us and he goes, "Why don't you guys go back to where you're from?" And I remember I looked at the guy and I was like, "Fuck you, you old bastard." Excuse my language. But that's how I reacted. I'm like 16 at the time or whatever. And then, and I probably laughed it off and walked away or whatever. And probably at 16, that's probably how I felt. But the reality is, like, this man came out his way to sit in a bench that me and my bro was at just to say some racial thing to us. And then my other experience, which happened to me in my adult life, I was very much in shock. I handled it professionally just because I was in a professional setting. But I was working for a company. I won't say the company's name to put them out there or anything, but I'm working for this company. I'm up at some training, and I'm in the middle of nowhere at this training. And this training is like where I'm at. I'm staying there for a week at a time, and everything. And so was the other person involved. And there was some sort of announcement going on, and they didn't like how the announcement was going on because they felt offended about how this announcement was going on. And I'm in this other little room, but the door is wide open. And I'm counting people's registers, right? And then all of a sudden the lady says something about, "Oh, I don't know why we would say that. Um, I don't know why we would say this word for that particular group of people, for some sort of donation we were trying to collect." And then the lady goes, "We wouldn't call black people," and then she drops the N word. This is a white lady, an old white lady. And I was like, "Whoa," I heard it and I was like, "Whoa." I was like, "What did you just say?" And then she's just like, "Yeah, we wouldn't say," she's like, "It only means lazy." I was like, "First of all, no, it doesn't. It doesn't mean lazy. And secondly, that's not even a comparison of what you just brought up. You wouldn't compare something racial to what was just being announced. That's not even a close comparison, and everything. So then the lady and the actual store manager, when they seen how offended and upset I was, because I'm Puerto Rican and Dominican, but I got kids that are Puerto Rican, Dominican, and black, and I got kids that are Puerto Rican and Dominican. Uh, when she seen how offended I was, she started backpedaling and everything, and I, I was pissed. I was pissed, but I was just, I'm at a job and everything, and I'm not really one to in my adult life to really make scenes or anything. But I was noticeably pissed. The store manager um, was like, "Hey, how was that?" He's like, "All right, I'm gonna make a report." Mind you, I would have made a report regardless of how I felt. So he claims he's gonna make a report. The lady is on eggshells, and this is now, mind you, I'm there. I'm up there in the middle of nowhere for 4 weeks. As far as I'm concerned, I am the only person of color in that store, ethnicity wise, and and I was in the middle of nowhere where I didn't know anybody. Uh, so then, like the next a day or two later goes by, the store manager asked me a question, and he was like, "Hey, she feels terrible. She wants to apologize." So she comes apologizing. I take the apology, but it's not like I feel comforted by it. Like I'm expecting to get phone calls and, "Hey, we heard this situation. Well, we don't condone that. We don't condone this and everything." Nothing ever came about this situation. I never got a phone call, never heard anything. So the rest of my time there, I'm uncomfortable. And then in my mind, I'm like, if this if this store manager reported this and the person above him did nothing, they swept it under the rug, or the store manager swept it under the rug and never reported it to anybody. Which in either case, that would be wrong. But I was just, it kind of just takes me back. I was taken back, and I'm like, wow, it's some craziness because now we're talking. It was 2000, 2022. So we're talking 3 years ago that this happened, and that's how and I was like really taken back. Where in the back of my head, I'm always feeling like, I wonder how that company really feels about people and everything. Dependent, and like I said, it may not even be ownership. It just might have been the leadership in that area that might have been in that terrible situation. And then, mind you, now that lady on eggshells is trying to convince me, oh, I don't have nothing against black people. I know black people. I got friends that are black. A lot of the usual things that they try to say when they start backpedaling. Anyone else have anything they want to share?
It's not just and it's not just black people. It's not just Puerto Ricans
Oh,
or Mexicans. It's
absolutely
across.
not.
And the thing is, it is now a global thing. It's global. It's always been global, but now it's not. It's so magnetized at being global, like our economy. Everyone thinks our economy is just in the United States. No, it's globally, and globally, it's even worse. But this racism thing, man, I don't know how many times we have to see. Say, for instance, police pulling over a black guy, Puerto Rican guy, white people. I see it all the time. Because the cops think they have this inferiority that they can just do what they want because they get a badge and a badge number. But when it comes to blacks and Puerto Ricans and us minorities, we are already behind the eight ball. Already. We're already. Before we even, when we see them lights go on, we're like, the first thing we say, damn, I'm going to jail because I'm black. Right or wrong? Man, he's going to find something to fuck with me. But if his name was Tom, Dick, or Harry, let me just get my license and registration. That's how we think. That's how we think. And now it's getting to a point where, and I'm going to call it like it is, our presidency, man. Listen, he went down to DC. I was telling Larry the other day. He literally took over DC, took it over. And now they have 200 homeless people that they're taking John Deere tractors and lifting up their tents to get them away. DC, which is District of Columbia. And so now that Trump wears that hat, if Trump wasn't in there, I really think my friend wouldn't have said anything. I really do. Because now that, and this is just the way I see it, now that Trump gives that organization to say what you want, and him on live TV saying you don't have to wear your white hoods, just wear your red hats, it's given whoever is racist that opportunity to come out now because our president is going to back us up. And it's discouraging. It's discouraging for our kids. Um, my daughters, Larry, your daughter, Thomas, you is. What do we say to them?
So,
Go
Junior,
ahead.
would you prefer them not to say? Because in my opinion, if someone's a racist, because at the end of the day, we don't know if they're quiet about it. We don't know if there's a racist. But if they got the battery in their back and they want to say it out loud, at least
Mhm.
I know. At least I
Well,
know
if
how
they,
they really feel because I don't think it's because of the president is how your friend felt like this no matter what. You know what I'm saying? Now maybe
but
he feels a little bit more braver to vocalize it, but honestly, I'd rather know. If he
it,
vocalize if they vocalize it and they know at least that way I know, well, I know not to talk to this person, or I know not to deal with
mhm.
that person, or I know to stay away from this area because this is how they're gonna feel about me and everything. Where though if they hid it and kept it a secret, and then here I am in this area hanging out thinking they're my friends, and then if something more serious happens, come to find out I really had no friends there. And I'd rather know up front that I don't have no friends there. So it's kind of like asking, do you want to know, do you want them to just do it quietly and be the police officer and be the doctor and do it quietly, or do you want them to be out loud and outspoken about it? That way you at least know who these people are and who they really are. I'd rather them be vocalized about it, whether they're racist or not. Be honest,
I hear you.
you know,
I
you know
hear
what I'm
you.
saying?
Yeah, I absolutely hear you. But don't wait 30 years. Tell me the first year.
Oh,
Don't wait
absolutely.
30. You know what I mean? And trust me, if Kamala or Biden was in there, I'm quite sure that he would not have said that. I'm quite sure. So when your leader said, let's say our leader was, okay, Obama. All right, all minorities don't have to work. We're going to send them a check, blah, blah, blah. We're not going to work because you know why? We trust our president.
Now I'm afraid
And
that's a
now,
setup.
no, and then now with all these people that are racist and trust their president, they're coming out because you know why? They have no consequences. Zero.
Hmm.
And it becomes from the top is it comes from the top. Like I says, if I was that president, I'd be like, oh yeah, you know what? No, fuck that. Minorities, all the shit we went through, y'all motherfuckers don't have to pay shit. And I'm quite sure there'd be a lot of minorities following me. Trust
Hmm.
me. And the same with Trump and what he's doing. And like I said, I'm quite sure if I knew this guy for 30 years, why didn't you tell me after the first year? You know why? Because there wasn't no one in that president office saying that it's okay that you do.
Yeah. So then, Junior, how do you have that conversation with your kids? Because I know Thomas brought up how he would have that conversation, and he tried to, and based on what I heard, it sounds like he tries to show them the history of what was happening, and then maybe try to implement that and apply that to some maybe more current affairs. But for myself, I honestly, I don't even know how I have that conversation with my kids. I want to say racism has came up, and I've talked to them about it, but it's never really been a conversation where we sat and talked about it. I would say the the racism or the discrimination, I'll call it that instead. The discrimination that we've talked about necessarily wasn't about race. I've had lots of talks with my kids about gender, and whether it's a transgender or a male wanting to be a girl or vice versa. We've had a lot of those conversations and that type of discrimination, but I've never really uh, applied it to actual ethnicity, even though, like, they know that we're not, they know we're light skinned, obviously, and we're not necessarily what is considered white. We are ethnically either, a portion of my kids is Black, Dominican, Puerto Rican, and a portion of my kids are Dominican and Puerto Rican. And but as far as situations that they may have faced or anything that I've ever faced, I don't think we've ever really had those conversations. How about you, Larry? How about you, Junior? How have you had that conversation?
First and foremost, I just let my kids know that people have the right to feel how they want to feel. You know what I mean? Can't change that. Can't do nothing about it. That's how they feel. Well, they have the right to feel that way.
Absolutely.
Again, with the racism and all that stuff, I wait till something arises, and it's usually during school. Well, like I said,
Yeah.
Black History Month, they're teaching something or something like that, or a movie or something show will pop up and it will have to do about slavery. And I just remind my children that, hey, people still think like that. It's messed up,
Hmm.
you know what I mean? But that's still around in the world. It's not just because they teach it in our history books doesn't mean that it's history. You know what I mean? That's
Yeah.
still right now. Um, but I think the most important lesson out of it is that just people have the right to feel how they want to feel. If somebody
Yeah.
doesn't like you because of your color, then hey, that's how they feel.
Yeah.
Don't let it
And
don't let
honestly,
it mess up
shame
your
on
day.
them.
Don't let it, you know what I mean? I think it's important that we educate our children. And it's not just educate our children. Like I teach my daughter, hey, everybody came from somewhere. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
If they want us to go back to Puerto Rico and wherever else our family members came from, well, guess what? Trump's grandparents came from somewhere. Um, the Irish guy down the street, they came from somewhere. You know what I mean? Everybody who has this pride in where they're from, they came from somewhere. You know what I mean? So everybody would have to leave. And then I get even deeper. I say, and some people might agree or disagree, but even the Native Americans that they call Native Americans, they came from somewhere. They weren't here. They migrated from like Asia and over that way. You know what I'm saying? So who's to say go back to where you came from? You know what I mean?
But what if I came into work tomorrow and knowing you for 25 plus years and you just said, and dead ass says, hey, you know what? I don't like fucking mulattoes. They should export you motherfuckers first. And keep going on and on. I'd have a problem with that. Even with you, Larry, or Derek is or Thomas. I
I
can't
think
see you having a friend for that long and
I
then
think
just saying, hey, dismiss it.
I think there had to be signs that maybe
None.
you overlooked or just, like, yo, this guy
Zero.
is funny or something there. You know what I mean? Like,
Larry, there was nothing. There was zero. Zero. He made sure that because he knows Nelson and he knows me, he knows not I thought he knew not to cross that line, but he did. He crossed that line. No, listen, there was no signs. And that's why I'm like, oh, hold up, wait a minute. Nigga, 30 plus years and you had no signs of showing that, oh, you're a MAGA? I
if I
don't
put
know.
myself if I put myself in your shoes, I would say that I would exercise what I just said as far as everybody has the right to feel how they feel. You know what I mean? I would tell myself that. Well, he got the right to feel however he feels, no matter how messed up it may be. I think the thing that would bother me, again, I'm in your shoes. The thing that would bother me is like I gotta stop talking to my friend of 30 years. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? I think like that is probably for me, the main thing. Like, this is 30 years that gotta just toss down the drain pretty much because I don't rock with what you're showing.
Yeah.
Um,
So
Hey,
does
real
that
real quick,
mean
guys.
does
Real
that
quick,
mean I
guys. I
got to
just want
second guess everybody?
no
no,
hold
not
that
at
thought though.
all. For what?
I just want
That's
to
like
point out
saying
we just got another dad that joined the conversation. We got Derek. Derek, take this opportunity to introduce yourself real quick. And the topic is racism.
Yeah, my fault, fellas. Derek Johnson, realtor, father of two. I was out being a dad and I lost track of time. No BS. I was out playing baseball in the backyard and realized realized what time it was. So my fault.
Family first, brother. Family first.
Yeah, but still, this is family too.
Mm-hmm. Appreciate that.
Well said.
Yes, why don't
Yeah.
you
So
give them an update on what we've been talking about?
yeah. So just pretty much we've been conversating. Junior unfortunately had an experience with a longtime friend of over 30 plus years. Um, the situation stemmed from a different situation that started off with his brother, and then this friend, when they happened to be at the same location, the friend just kind of ignored Junior, and then Junior went up to the friend just to see what was going on, and it just went left from there. It didn't go well. Luckily it didn't get too crazy, but now there's a 30 plus year friendship that is
Yeah,
down the drain. And then some of us have already shared, uh, how what we faced. I shared a story of one when I was like 16 and another of just a few years ago. And then Thomas shared some experience of how he would communicate and what he's done to educate Noah as well. And then I pretty much said that there's not really much, like I've had conversations about discrimination, but nothing to the degree of what we're talking about. And then I do just want to add in there too, though. I'll add this in there. I don't, so like, Junior, you mentioned a couple of times this guy being a MAGA hat wearer and everything. I don't necessarily think everybody that wears those hats is necessarily a racist. Like there may be some sort of racism in there, maybe, but I won't necessarily say that because at the end of the day, it's just an acronym for "Make America Great." Who doesn't want America to be great? Now, what does that mean? That might be the lines in there that may be getting crossed because we don't really know if there's a hidden, agenda underneath all that, and I guess only time will tell about that right there. So, and then racism comes from all, unfortunately, it comes from other minorities at times too, because I know, I'm sure we've all faced some sort of racism coming from somebody else that we'd be like, hey, your skin is closer to mine than it is anyone else's. Why are you showing me this hate
The
and
Indians,
everything? So
the Indian people, the Hindu people, they do that shit a lot. And
yeah,
to me, it's hilarious because it's like, what do you, what do you, what? You know what I'm
yeah.
saying?
It's it's rough because the only one older than me is Winston, and unfortunately he's not on tonight. But growing up in the 70s, so I was born in 71, so growing up late 70s, 79, I was 8, and it was very much alive. It was very much alive. You back then in the 70s, there was no such thing as faking racism. You either are racist or you're not. There was no in between. The only in betweens, I guess, were Puerto Ricans. I don't know. I really don't. Um, but when you're going through that growing up, when my father, born 1940, growing up in Florida and going through it, it's tough to handle. And person in my statue, and I grew up with a bunch of white guys, Italians, French. My girlfriend was French. I dated her for 10 years in high school, so I had no problem with it. Nothing. I'm not racist at all. But when you hear it unexpectedly, I guess that would be it. Is unexpectedly out of the blue and be like, wow, really? You played me for 30 fucking years? And yes, I'm going to stick to it is I'm going to say that because in the presidency, when he gives the right for people, he let all them people out on January 6th. And to do that across the fucking nation, that gives our adversary, our Caucasians, whites, the right to do more than they already have the right to do. And yes, I believe that. I really do. When our president, like I said before earlier, when our president said, I got to wear the white hats, just wear the red ones, that's a problem to me. And now, whether you're a MAGA or not, okay, make America great again. And of course, like I said, I'm the oldest one here. America wasn't great when I was born. It wasn't great around the fucking Vietnam War. World War One, World War Two. It wasn't great. How about the Big Depression? That wasn't great. So what are the white people doing? What are the black people doing who are MAGAs too? And the Puerto Ricans and the Mexicans. It was never great. Ever. And so now we got this slogan going. Okay, make America great again. What are you making so great about it, my man? You're just making it more racist. You ever go by cops nowadays? What do? You cringe. Back then, I don't give a fuck. You pull me over. Huh? You want to give me a ticket or whatever. Now you cringe. You know why? Not because you're going to get a ticket, because you're afraid of what they're going to pull you out the fucking car. And I'm quite sure blacks do it to whites. But, it's not videoed, I guess. So that's my problem. My problem is, yes, he was probably like that all his fucking life. But if I'm with you, I told Larry when he was 15, handed him my business card. I said, Larry, listen, you're going to school, you want to be a barber, you get back at me, and I'll give you the key. He came back at me at 19, gave me the key to my shop. You keep it open, you treat it like it's yours, it's good. Trusted him. And he earned that. Okay. I didn't have to do it to anybody else, but I've known the brother for a long time. And for us to go through this, man, it's extraordinary to me, man. I laugh and I giggle all the time. I love my job. I love my family, everything. But it bothers me. So I'll leave it at that. It bothers me.
Derek, you just joined, so just go ahead and chime in. Any feelings you have about this topic?
Yeah, so I remember when Junior, when you brought it up the first time, and how hurt I felt for you, right? Because
Yep.
it's like um and there were, when I hopped on, Larry, you were talking about it too, and I agree with the sentiment of, your thoughts are your thoughts. Like there's going to be differences of opinions among humanity, right? Like that's part of being part of the human race is differences. It's what makes it's what makes the world go, right? Like you want differences of opinion, but you want them respectful, but you still want that difference. And then, to have to have a friend or a so-called friend that's like, no, I get it, because you let your guard down with certain people, and so I believe it when Junior, when you say it came out of the blue, because it wasn't along the same lines as something, along a racism line or anything that had to do with that subject. But I've had my trust, pulled out from under me, and it came out of the blue, and I was fortunate that it wasn't 30 years, it was 7 or 8 years, but that's still a long time, almost a decade. So never mind triple that, you know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah.
It is. It's something, it's something that you got to process. It's something that, uh, you know, I would assume that it might not fully hit. It might not still have fully hit. You know what I mean? And as you talk through it, and 2 weeks from now, like you sit down and you're like, wow, like he really did that. Like that. This is a human being who I trusted for X amount of years,
Mhm.
and I thought, and because it's like it's trust is so important in relationships, whether it's personal, business, friendship, marriage, etc. And people are selective with trust, and so once you make it to that next level, that's got to sting, because it's unfortunate that we can all say that we've probably experienced, not probably, we can say definitively that we've all experienced um, discrimination, blatant discrimination from people who we don't know, right? Like you see somebody in public or you come across somebody in public and it still stings, but you have the ability to walk it off, wash it off, like, tell yourself it's a them problem, not a me problem, and like continue with your day. And that's really tough to do with somebody who you think you trust for 3 decades, right? That's
Yeah.
so, I didn't get it, Junior, when you first brought it up the other night, I didn't get a chance to fully just say, man, like I'm just really sorry that you went through that, because it's like I tried to picture my relationships at 43. There's only a handful of people who I've known for like 30 years. You know what I mean? And so um how I would feel if any of them did that to me, I would be devastated. And I mean devastated, so it's um it's really big of you to be sharing that, and bringing it to the light for us to talk about, because it's probably, it's probably a lot to work through, and so I appreciate you doing that. And like I said, I'm fortunate where my um my interactions with racism um, in my life have been people, where I can sort of explain it away. I can tell myself where, that this person has something wrong with them. They don't, they're ignorant, but they just don't understand. They're scared, like whatever it is. Um, and even within that, my experiences, one was pretty bad. Um, I was 22-ish, right? So I should have been in college. I think uh no, it was the summer in my early 20s, and I had a summer job working for cleaning parks, etc. And we were just outside in a break. It was hot. It was like six of us, seven of us, all older guys, and it was me and a kid who was a little bit younger than me, just in high school. And I had a megaphone in my hand, and we were just joking around, and I was like rapping lyrics in the megaphone in like people's faces, and they were laughing, right? Because I wasn't doing it obnoxiously. It was just fun. And my foreman came out and he looked me dead in the eye and he said, "Shut up, you nigger."
Oh,
And the crazy part, the crazy part is that he thought he was being funny.
damn.
Yeah, yeah. So I didn't, I've never gone red before, except for that moment. The next moment where I came to, I had a couple of guys on each arm. The megaphone was broken, and I was about 3 inches away from the dude's face. And the reason why I say that he really thinks he was joking is because he's a really dumb human being, and is sort of to your point when you're talking about the hats, and not everybody who wears a hat is a racist. I think one of the and I'll bring it back. I promise. I think one of the crazy things about our positions as minorities is that we're always the one that has to bend. We always have, if we want to get to where we want to as a society, it's required by minorities, I feel, to be the bigger people, and to always give people grace. And that's a double-edged sword. And I think there's hypocrisy in even saying that, but I think it's true. I think that if we want to get to where we have to go, we have to be okay with the bumps and bruises of getting there as a culture. Because if we don't take grace, and if we don't see behind the potential just misinformation or ignorance or bigotry, then we'll never get there, right? And we have to be okay with um not apologizing, of what's the word that I'm looking for, of being okay, right? Of saying I forgive you. You know what I mean? Even if it's not something where they even know that they need to say sorry. That's a perfect instance. In my heart of hearts, I don't think he's racist. I just think he's really, really stupid. And I think he's a dumb individual. And he picked a wrong joke. But I, honest to God, don't think he's racist. And it didn't matter in the moment. And I remember that the HR manager and my manager said that you can end this dude's career if you wanted to. You know what I mean? But seven, there was seven of us who all saw it, all witnessed it. And I could have ended the guy's career, but I chose not to, right? And I think I would have been justified to say, yeah, like this is a lesson that you're going to learn for the rest of your life. And I'm gonna make you remember me for the rest of your life with this moment. And if it screws up your career, so be it. This is your choice. But it's like, what purpose would that prove? And
Yep.
and it's hard. It's hard to take that stance. It's hard to be the bigger person, in my opinion. You know what I mean? And it's tiring. And Junior, what I eventually what I was gonna say, going to ask you is two things. Um, are you what have you thought about what you would say to him if he were to ever reach out? And do you think he'll ever reach out?
Um, no, I don't think he will because he was much longer a friend of my brother's than he was. I'm pretty sure, it was either in my brother's wedding or at it, because I was in my brother's wedding. So I don't think he will, because he's one of them one that stands on all fours and say, I don't give a damn if I'm right or wrong. I'm gonna say it in the way I feel. And
Yeah.
he's always been like that. And I'm not putting it past him in any way, you know what I mean? Hey, if you want to feel the way you feel, go ahead. No problem. I got no problem with that. But when you take it about um and I call it racism because of the way he spit his things out. He didn't do it once. He did it twice. Once with my brother and then again with me.
Yeah.
So I can't say that he's not racist, but I never knew.
Yeah.
I never knew, so I never guessed it. It wasn't like, hey, let's go. We're gonna go golfing. Do you like niggas? No, no. It was never, ever, ever mentioned. It was never. Did we joke sometimes with me, my brothers, my brother Roger that passed away all the time? But this was serious.
Yeah.
This was serious and serious enough where I had to lift my arm to hit someone, to strike someone. I'm 54. I can't. I'm not fighting no more. But against my religion, my God, my Jesus Christ, and then against my race, I couldn't just stand there and say, "Hey, I forgive you." I wanted to afterwards, but I couldn't do it right there and then. There's no way I could do it right there and then. At the heat of the moment, and you're saying this racist stuff at a place that you're drinking, I could not bend myself over and say, hey, slap me in the other cheek. I
Yeah.
couldn't. I'm sorry, Derek. I just, and I feel you. You're absolutely right.
Yeah.
You are 100% right. You know what I mean? Asking for that forgiveness or whatnot. I couldn't do it at that heat of the moment, especially what we're going through in this country right now. You know what I mean? You can't travel downtown Los Angeles. You can't go to Chicago. You can't go to Ohio. Try walking down Boston or New York. It's terrible. And was it terrible before? Yeah, it was. But it was nothing like it is now. The last time it was like now, I think it was when JFK was president. And I don't get it. Even when Ronald Reagan was in there in the 80s, it wasn't as bad. And Jimmy Carter after him. And I just don't. I don't want to get it. I just want to understand, why is my blood the same color as yours, and my hair grows the same as yours? Because of the color of my skin, you don't like me? You don't like me? Really? Is that what it is? And even if he is, he's like maybe 59, 60 years old. So that means he's what? 6 years older than me. We were raised in the same era, my nigga. Excuse me. So don't tell me that you were raised in the 40s and the 50s like my dad was and my mom was, and they felt it. So now you bring it along because, and I'm solely going to believe it on our cabinet that's in the White House right now. I do. I just don't see anyone that ignorant unless you're 80, 90 years old to bring that back and you never went through it. Ever. How does someone hate someone that much and you've never been through it? Ever.
Mm.
I just don't get that. You know what I mean? And then you're gonna shrug my shoulder like I'm white with you and then call me out. So that's why I can't, it's hard for me. I love God with all my good. There's a second person behind God, and that's my wife. But I cannot. If he were to call me, it'd be on. It'd be, I hate to say it, but I can't take that. If he were to say, Junior, please forgive me, okay, we talk it out. I can't go to him and say that. Not after we said, and my wife was there. I mean, good thing she was outside because she would have punched him. When you mention Puerto Ricans, Mexicans, Asians, and all that, and you sit in a place, my wife would have, Larry knows, my wife would have went house on him. House. So I don't care whether you're racist or biblical or whatever it is you want to be, you be it. But don't be fake about it. You know what I mean? Don't be something that you heard about. You heard about slavery, and I get like that way about minorities too. You got 18, 19, 20 years old talking about racism. What the fuck are you talking about racism? You never went through it. You don't know the difference between racism and prejudice. Once you know them differences, then you come see me. At 20 years old, you don't know nothing about what you read. You don't read it no more because it's not in history books. You're going through what you've seen on your phone. I don't believe all that bullshit with Black Americans and this and that. No, you didn't go through that. I partially went through it. I've had white guys, and I was raised with white guys. Seventh, eighth grade, where the Leominster Courthouse is right now, used to be my Gallagher Junior High School. Seventh and eighth grade, where the Leominster Courthouse is, 4 floors. And I chased many of white kids up and down them 4 floors because they called me a nigger. Okay, that's 81. That's not too far off from the racism where it started way back then. And I went through it. And so us as minorities faking that we went through it, talking about racism, going out there, do what you got to do. Yes. But when you hint around and saying, oh, our ancestors are 400 years old, you're only 20. What are you talking about? You know what I mean? So I'm not totally with the situation of young, their entrepreneurship and want to lead that way. Yes, go right for it. You look in them history books and them encyclopedias or your Google and your YouTube, and you find out. You find out what they went through. You find out what we paid the path for you 20 and 30 years olds to follow, and you're running all over it. Not standing up for yourself. So I can't backtrack and say, hey, you know what? Man, if I see you again, it's on and popping. That's just the way I feel. That's the way I feel. I can't help it.
Okay.
All right. Anything else? Anyone else want to add anything else?
Hurts, man. It hurts. Hurts all of us. There's not a person on here that is white except for me, and I'm half white. Okay.
Halfway.
I'm
Yeah. Okay.
halfway.
Sorry
That's
about
one
that.
and a half
I
people.
think that, yeah, I was about to say, I
Yep.
think,
Sorry about that.
correct me if I'm wrong. I
I
think
don't know.
Derek
I don't
is,
know.
and I think
The
Thomas
only
just said, are you?
the only background I know is Larry. Okay. I don't know. And my apologies if I was wrong, but
I'm half right,
half white.
half
Oh,
right.
that's right. Yeah.
You half right?
Stupid
Half
mouth.
right? Is that what you said?
Yeah, I'm half right.
Half right? Or whatever you was
It's, it's,
doing
it's
before the show, that we don't know about that.
You know what I mean?
All right, so it seems like we're coming to the end of the show, guys. So in closing, anybody have any closing comments? Thomas, anything you want to say?
A lot.
Um,
Uh, Go ahead, let it
Go
out.
ahead, Derek. Go ahead.
No. No, it's what I'm saying is I know the smirk. I
Yeah, you
responded
want
to
to
your
say a lot.
smirk.
I'll end with this. Where focus goes, energy flows. Uh, I think life becomes a little bit more simpler and a little smoother to travel down when we can focus on things we can control. Um, there are always going to be evil people out there, but in equivalent, there's also tremendous amount of beauty and greatness out in the world. Um, and it's unfortunate that racism still exists today. And I give props to my dad for motivating, not motivating, but taking the time to express the importance of learning the roots, which is a reflection of why I make the effort to keep Noah educated. Uh, and at the end of the day, the message, again, Junior, going back to your question about how we approach our kids, for me, it's about keeping my kids educated and keeping that as a foundation, but also learning the solution piece of that, not just knowing the history and the civil rights movement and racism and all that stuff, but how can we handle that today if we experience that? And the root for me when it comes to solutions is always going to come from self awareness. Self awareness emotional intelligence, always leading with those to find solutions and finding the answers within ourselves. Because, like I said, we can't control what other people think. We can't control about how other people feel. We can't control how whether someone's racist or not, or if they have opinions that are completely opposite of yours. That's just how the world works. But if it's something that's not in alignment, or if it's disrespectful, and it's just not a good person, it's knowing what you can do in that time. And I'll end with this, and I'll just go back to what I'm teaching Noah right now. If someone's telling, talking down to you or saying bad words about you or anything like that, it's just a reflection of how they feel about themselves. And when we can realize, hey, these words actually aren't about me because I know my self worth, then we can know that we can separate ourselves from the situation and put ourselves in an environment where we are loved, we are recognized, and around people who are in alignment. But always keeping self-awareness at the foundation, and always keeping education at the foundation, is how I will approach it, how I am approaching it with my kids.
Mm.
There you go.
All right,
Yeah.
Larry, anything you wanna say in closing?
Uh, not too much. Just June, don't beat yourself up over it.
Mm.
You know what I
That's tough,
mean?
dude.
Like
That's
Uh-huh.
I
tough.
said, it sucks that you got to throw away 30 years of friendship or whatever the case may have it, but it's better than throwing away 40, 50 years of friendship. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
All this,
Yeah.
all this, all this racism and all this super stuff, with or without the president, still going to be around.
Mm-hmm.
10 years from now, still going to be racist people. 20 years, still going to be. So
Yeah.
just teach our kids to learn how to just navigate through it. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Because it's always going to be there. Somebody's always, not everybody's going to like you. You know what I mean? And don't get caught up on the twos and fews that don't like you. You know what I mean? So that's all I like to
Yeah.
say.
All right,
Well said.
Derek, anything you want to say in closing?
Um, One of the reasons why I appreciate this group is just I heard three great opinions that are all intertwined. You know what I mean? Different perspective, but at the end of the day, we are just doing the best we can, to raise these kids. And Larry brought up a fantastic point of based off of what Junior said earlier, right? Like I feel pretty strongly that the world, the not the world, that America has a bigger platform to bring some not so great positions to light, right? People feel empowered to be disrespectful. People feel empowered to be bigots more so than in the past. But Larry's right. It's always going to be there. It's just festering to the top now, right? But the the core of what Thomas said is very true about, it's got to come from within. It's just really hard now because it's everywhere now, right? Where it's like I think the self-preservation of knowing it's there but not having to see it on a daily basis and face it and deal with it, that's tiring. That's tough. And that leads to festering, and that just leads to more problems, right? Like it was hard enough pre-Trump, in my opinion, to try and get through the world as a minority, in my opinion, right? It's been a lot better, and I can't sit here and say that I've not gotten jobs because I'm black or anything like that, but I know it's there and it's aware, and I have chosen to ignore a lot. And it's all small stuff, but it's like death by paper cuts is still death. And so it's just a lot harder now because it's so prevalent and it's forcing you to deal with it more frequently.
Yep.
And even if it's just changing the channel, hearing this over and over and over again, in my opinion, is very exhausting. And the types of questions that lead from other questions from your kid, because I agree, it is about education. But it's like I don't want to be answering some of these questions to my 9 and 12-year-old. I know it's important and I know we'll eventually get there, but it's like some of these things in 2025 just shouldn't be a topic, in my opinion. And it's just harder to deal with. And you know what? Maybe 15 years from now, they're all better off for it, right? Maybe this is their hardship that they have to go through and we have to go through, right? Maybe digging down, regardless of the why, maybe the resolve and the perseverance through this makes us all better people for it, right? But it's just in the meantime, I think we all just need a little more love, in all honesty, and a little bit more self-reflection, like the three of you gentlemen just said. Again, it's
Yeah.
one of the reasons why I really love this group. Three different perspectives, but all basically the same thing about just trying to do the best you can. Appreciate you guys.
Hey, Thomas, we weren't at each other this week. I'll wait until next week.
Oh man, I had to hold back so much, man. I'm telling you. We'd be on this call until 11 o'clock, but I had some self-control today.
All right. And for me, folks, in closing, I'd say, yeah, a little bit of everything that we talked about hits home for me. And Junior, I'm sorry you had to experience that, especially with a long-term friend. But like I alluded to earlier, I don't find that surprising that it was a 30-plus-year-old friend because I've dealt with my fair share myself. But unfortunately, in 2025, we still deal with racism and discrimination. And who knows? Who knows if it'll ever go away? Who knows if it's planted there on purpose from the powers to be to keep us divided? Because united is when we're really going to take control and be able to make some moves really happen. So, other than that, that's all I got to say. And I always appreciate you guys. I find these shows very therapeutic, and it's good to talk about things. So I can't wait till next time for us to meet and talk again. Um, and for everyone out there, just stay tuned. We got our next topic coming up, which is going to be about food and diet and how we eat and everything. So stay tuned for that one. Hello, everyone. If you enjoyed the video you just watched and you like what we're doing, make sure you check out our YouTube channel. And while you're there, hit the subscribe button.